another edition of Infield Fly. We are in the final week of the regular season of Major League Baseball. It has gotten here, and it's gotten here quickly. Yet there's still a lot to be played for here in this final week. We will talk about it, especially Murph's team, the Chicago Cubs. Keith Murphy is here. Big Cubs fan. He's freaking out.
Yeah,
He's keeping his fingers crossed.
You gotta talk me down.
Lane Whitaker is here as well, Atlanta Braves fan. Braves just kind of coasting right now, and it's I don't know.
Murph's got his fingers crossed. I'm keeping my fingers out of the way because we've got some finger injuries on our pitching staff right now.
Inflamed finger, the latest injury for the Atlanta Braves.
That does not sound good.
That's how you know somebody's old, when they get an inflamed finger. I woke up the other day, my foot, like the bottom of my foot hurt, and I was like, what is this?
I got an inflamed finger last week trying to light a candle. It was terrible. So we'll see what happened to Max Fried. Also, I'm Rob Fisher, Cardinals fan. We're just playing it out. We got 7 left. Let's get to it. But fellas, it's we do have a lot to play for, and I think the two biggest things coming into this final season. Number one, we'll start on the other side. In the American League, that American League West and that wild card, still a good race there. And in the American League West, it really turns out to be a great week here this season because these teams are going to be playing each other. In the West, Texas has opened up a 2.5 game lead over Houston because Houston got swept by the Royals over the weekend.
Crazy.
My goodness.
Crazy.
And then Seattle is 3 back. So Seattle a half game back of Houston as well. And that's where it'll start this week. Seattle's got Houston for 3, and then they have Texas for 4. So while it's a very difficult schedule for Seattle, and they're currently a half game behind Houston for that final wild card spot, they have it right in front of them. I mean, they got Houston at home and Texas at home, playing the teams that it matters. You win these games, Seattle could go to the postseason.
How many games do you think they got to win, Fish, in order to get that last wild card?
Well, you got to win
because they're not going to sweep. They're not going to sweep.
No, you got to win the series with Houston because with Houston being the team that's ahead of you, those count kind of as 2.
Right.
So you've got to win 2 out of the 3. You win 2 out of the 3, you're a half game up going into that last series with Texas, and then Houston has to go on the road to take on Arizona, and Arizona will have something to play for. Texas might be done with the division by then. So, who knows what Texas could do with Seattle. Arizona, who knows if they'll have anything wrapped up. I don't know. But Houston has a tough road too. Texas, they open the week in Los Angeles against the Angels. So they could wrap up the division before they get to that series in Seattle with the Mariners. So I think, Seattle's in the driver's seat. And it's Julio's got to show up, and Julio's got to be the guy and carry them here. And their pitching's got to be as good as it's been this season. And Seattle will have that chance. Tonight, a great pitching matchup, Castillo going against Verlander. Yeah. So that'll be a lot of fun to get things started with that series with Seattle and Houston. Then the other thing is that National League wild card, Murph. Phillies are secure. They got a spot. Phillies are good. But then Arizona, they're a half game up on the Cubs, and then Miami 1 game back of the Cubs. I don't know if I even count Cincinnati anymore. They're 2.5 back, and I think that'll be very difficult.
I think they're out of it.
Yeah, and Cincinnati, they're at Cleveland for 2, and then they're in St. Louis for 3. So it's a favorable schedule for Cincinnati. But to have 5 games on the road and to try and make up 2.5 and to pass 2 teams, I think will be very difficult for them. Arizona's that team in front. They got a busy week because they're all over the place. They're at the Yankees today for 1, and then they go to the White Sox for 3, favorable, and then they have Houston at home for 3. Houston certainly has something to play for. So not the easiest schedule for Arizona, but not the hardest either.
I mean, the Yankees don't have anything to play for. They're out.
Yeah.
So that's
and the White Sox suck.
Yeah, that's like 4
should-bes.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, who are the Cubs playing?
Oh gosh.
I know the answer to this. That's why I stopped.
I know the answer too. That's why I'm laughing. Jesus.
Cubs, Murph, you got 3 in Atlanta, and then 3 in Milwaukee.
It's just not right, man.
Now, the good news is Atlanta's pitching staff's kind of up in the air right now.
Ours is too, though, Fish.
Although that's true. We got
a weird pitching staff too right now.
That's true.
We're just the comeback kids. That's all we've been doing. It's just coming back on teams. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. Milwaukee will have the division wrapped up. So, but
you think they might rest some guys?
Maybe, but I don't know. I don't know how much teams want to rest guys when you're going to have a week off when the season's over. Yeah. I mean, I think you'll play them, maybe arrest a guy here or there, stagger it throughout the 3 days, but I don't think you're going to get a lineup like you're looking at with the Cardinals every night right now. I don't think you'll get that lucky. So that's tough. Cubs are in Atlanta for 3. They're in Milwaukee for 3. And then you have the Marlins.
Jeez.
Marlins are on the road for 6 games, 3 at the Mets and 3 at the Pirates.
Come on, man. What's going on? Who came up with the schedule, man? Who came up with the late breaking schedule to know they were going to break my Cubs' hearts? That's what they're doing.
Yeah. So Miami, gosh,
what?
Murph, you got to figure this out. I mean, Cubs got to get themselves into this thing.
We got to get, want to say, 5 games.
5?
5
out of 6.
5 out of 6 is because I think the teams in back of us got an easier schedule.
Yep.
And we're going to need to get some cushion. But what I got to hope for is the Braves sleepwalk, because they just been like, we got this. Pitching's a little shaky. Let's just play these games and get it out of the way. That's what I'm hoping.
Here's the problem with the Braves sleepwalking, like they did yesterday in Game 2 of the doubleheader.
They won.
Pilar hits a home run.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
you still have Albies, you still have Olsen, you still have Ozuna. I mean, Acuna doesn't play, and you're like, "Whoa, good, they're resting Acuna. Maybe we got a shot here tonight." And Rosario's not playing, and Arcia didn't start the game, and you're like, "Okay, we're in good shape." But then it's just still the other guys in the lineup. A buddy of mine tells me all the time, he was like, "Braves are going to get you 4." I mean, we've seen the Braves the last couple of weeks and happen in Game 2 yesterday. They can fall behind 3-0. You're like, all right, just don't let it get away, because you're going to get 4.
Yeah.
And then they go on and they get 8 and they win the game 8-4. That's the problem with playing. I mean, even if the Braves rest a guy or two, they're still just loaded. And that's what's scary taking on Atlanta right now.
I mean, listen, we had to get a sweep with the Rockies in order for us to, have a 1-game lead in a wild card. So that's like, we got to be perfect. That's why I said 5. Like, I wasn't trying to be hyperbolic here. Like, I really believe we need 5, because the teams behind us just got these, got these teams that they're playing against teams that have nothing to play for.
I think the Cubs clearly could win 2 or 3.
You think so?
Atlanta. Yeah. Because the Braves since clinching in Philly 2 weeks ago, whenever that was, the Braves have just been kind of stumbling along. And now Fried and Morton are out for the rest of the season. So, I know Bryce Elder's starting Game 1, and then they don't know who's going to start the next 2 games. So,
I mean, we're, like I said, we're in the same bucket here, because, our horse still has been, kind of up and down a little bit, and then, we don't know what's going on with the other pitchers, the relievers. Like, the last game, Cubs have the lead, 4-3 lead. Julian Merriweather comes in, walks 2 in the 9th, Fish. 2 in the 9th, right? Which added like 10 years to my life, right? So Ryan McMahon comes up, and he appears to hit a ground ball to Cody Bellinger. Now, Cody scoops up the ball, and the Cubs song comes on, and the mascot comes out with the flag, and then the ump says, "Hold up, might not have been a ground ball." So that's my life as a Cubs fan. Like, we ended up winning that game. We win that game, But that's like synonymous, kind of like underlines life as a Cubs fan. It's like it's there, it's right there in front of you, and they just snatch it. But we ended up winning the game, so I can't complain too much. But that was just awful.
I'll ask you first, Lang, because they had a big discussion on MLB Network this week, and there were differing answers. Cubs missed the postseason. Is it a disappointing season?
Yeah, but I wouldn't say it's like a disaster season though. It's disappointing because you're right there. But
yeah,
I think coming into this season, like if you had told the Cubs fans, Murph, you can answer this. If you had told Cubs fans you're going to be in the mix with 5 games left, they would have said, "Great." That's all. Really, like that's is that what you're asking for?
Yes, I in the beginning of the season, if you would have told me that we were going to have 5 games, 7 games to clinch, and I would take it. My issue is that I just don't know how they're going to be able to turn over this roster because Cody Bellinger, he's the guy, right? And we don't know what's going to happen with that because we don't know if he's going to just say, "Hey, I'll try to go sign with the Yankees." Like we don't know what's going to happen with that. So that's the wild card. The one thing we do know is that we have to improve our starting pitching. That's been obvious for the whole season. So I think that's good. And listen, Ross has been okay. I've been on him a lot on this show. You know that. That's the inside joke on this show. But he's been okay. So we'll see.
Yeah, it was interesting because Dan Plesac was on the panel there, and he works for Marquee sometimes on the Cubs broadcast. He said complete disappointment, and his reason was 2 weeks ago they were 3.5 games up in this position, and now they're fighting for their lives. And he said that's why it would be a big disappointment.
I don't buy that.
I kind of look at not a big disappointment because they weren't supposed to be here. I don't know.
Yeah. Exactly.
We talked about it early in the season, Murph, and I thought, well, the Cubs could be in the mix because this division may only take 500 to win. So
you were absolutely right. Like,
and they're right there. So I think it's before the expectation. It may be disappointing in the moment, but I think overall you'd have to look at it as a success and a step in the right direction for this team.
Fish, they were talking about blowing the team up.
At the deadline.
At the deadline. Remember that?
A month ago,
everybody was like lambasting the GM, lambasting everybody. How could you not sell? Cubs are not going to go anywhere. Why are you guys keeping intact? Like, what's going on? Like, this team doesn't have a future. Yada yada yada. Next thing you know, we got 7 games right now to clinch. So,
yeah,
we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Another thing I learned this week, Kyle Schwarber, this year, one of our favorites.
More Schwarber.
Kyle Schwarber this year has 198 strikeouts. All right, 198 strikeouts. Tony Gwynn in the decade of the 90s had 188.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, he didn't have as many home runs as Schwarber, though.
No, he sure didn't. I always love seeing the Tony Gwynn statistics when it comes to strikeouts. They're always quite remarkable. All right, the Atlanta Braves this week lost 2 of 3 against Philly, won 3 of 4 against Washington, and a whole bunch of things happened. Spencer Strider's got his 19th win. The team won their 100th game. Matt Olson, he's up to 53 homers, 133 RBIs. Those are both team records. Acuna hit his 40th. Ozuna hit his 36th. Kyle Wright fell to 0-3, didn't pitch well again. Fried improved to 8-1, but then he's on the injured list with a blister. And then Charlie Morton placed on the injured list with a right finger inflammation. Now, the weird thing with Morton is he'll miss the NLDS.
Yeah.
Because his IL stint is backdated a day to September 23rd. His activation date is October 8th, which is after you have to submit your roster. So he won't be available. The only way he'd be available if someone got hurt and they could put him on the roster. But Major League Baseball would certainly be very stingent about making sure that they're not manipulating the roster in any way. So
I always hated that rule.
But why, why would you be manipulating the roster by keeping one of your best starters off?
Manipulating by putting him on and saying some guy's got some sort of mysterious injury or something.
Right.
I mean, but they clearly would have just, if he could pitch, he'd pitch, right?
Yeah.
Like he was going to be he was going to start game 3. The hope is really, Fried's the one I'm more nervous about, because like you need him to start game 1 and game 4 of that series. So, and it's a stupid blister. Like how can we can fix broken bones and do heart transplants and all this stuff, but if you have a blister can keep you out of like
injured list.
So that's the thing to me. I don't know. It's like, we talked last week about what is an oblique? Like, how do you hurt an oblique? Like the blister goes in that category. Like what is a blister?
Right.
So,
are you getting concerned at all?
A little bit. I mean, only because Morton broke his leg last year when he got hit with that line drive and missed the postseason run too. So like Morton was only going to start one game, that game 3.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I guess you can put Bryce Elder in there. I mean, the guy was an all-star this year, but he hasn't been as dominant second half of the season. I guess Elder gets that spot. I don't know if Strider is going to pitch this week. I mean, he pitched last night, but I guess if they're ahead of the Cubs, maybe 2 games or whatever, like maybe they don't. If it doesn't feel like you're tanking by not pitching Strider, maybe you let him rest. Because last thing you want is for him to get hurt heading into the postseason with everybody else being hurt. I mean, maybe Strider wants to get the 20th win and try and start.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
That's why I think you guys I think they're going to rest some of your guys. Not rest them because they're overconfident, but rest them because they're not sure what they're going to have in we're going to have in the postseason with all you guys hurt.
Yeah. They did. I mean, Acuna has only missed, I think, 3 games all season. And so like he sat last night, and I guess you get a day off today and then get back at it. But I bet he'll play the rest of the way. My guess is he plays the rest of the way. And I think Strider will probably start one more time, because they do get a week off after the season, because they don't play in that first round. So maybe he gets one more start so he can kind of stay in rhythm. But like right now it's listed as Bryce Elder for game 1 against the Cubs, and game 2 and 3 TBD. So
wow.
Might get a bullpen game in there.
Yeah, no kidding. Ronald Acuna, by the way, and Ty Cobb are the only players in baseball history to have 75 or more extra base hits and 60 or more stolen bases in the same season. And did you know that Acuna and Cobb were both born on December 18th?
Let me see.
Yeah, how about that?
Any stat that is ready to erase Ty Cobb's, I'm very happy about that. Like anytime somebody's like, they passed Ty Cobb's, I'm like, yeah, good. They tied Cobb. Like, yeah. Just get him out of the record.
Get him out of there. Acuna also had his 12th game with a home run and a stolen base. That is tied with Bobby Bonds for second most in a season since 1900. Only Ricky Henderson had more games. He had 13 in 1980.
You got to say that. You got to say that in third person when you talk about Ricky.
Yeah, Ricky did it. Ricky was the greatest of all time.
I'll say that, with Acuna, like 2 years ago when the season he got hurt, going into that season, I there was talk about Acuna being a 40-40 guy and like maybe being a 50-50 guy. And then when he got hurt, everything kind of took a step back, and it took him a while. Like it took him all of last season really to kind of get his mojo back, I guess. But man, 40-70, like that is insane. Like nobody saw that coming.
That's better than 50-50.
I think so too. Like, I mean, I thought he had a shot at 40-80, which I don't know, maybe that's a goal for next year, but to do what he's done this year is like, I'm glad like the MVP talk is the fake argument has kind of gone away.
Oh yeah, it's dead now.
It has. Thank goodness. Here's one of the stats that I think is incredible with Ronald Acuna. His RBIs, he's at 100 RBIs. His runs scored are 140. I mean, you're talking about 250 RBIs or a run scored. I mean, that's the runs accounted for. 250? That's insane, man.
Like when he's on a base,
people were questioning his value. I mean, it was insane to me.
When he's on base, he's guaranteed to score.
It also just speaks to like the depth of the Braves that your leadoff hitter has 100 RBIs. Like
Right.
how often are the
Right.
7, 8, 9 guys on base when he comes up to bat? You know, like, yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty remarkable. All right, we talked a little Cubs. It was a rough start of the week for the Cubs, losing 2 of 3 to Pittsburgh, but then sweeping 3 against Colorado. Javier Assad pitched well in 2 games, but he only pitches 5 innings when he pitches.
That's the thing with him. That's what we got.
And Steele got roughed up again.
He's out of the Cy Young now. It's all your boys.
He's pitching against the Braves this week.
He's gotta get a win for us. He's got to get.
He's been your horse all year. He's got to have a big week. He's got to have a big game.
He's been scuffling, Fish. He's been scuffling. Like, I think there's something going on that he's not talking about. That, I think he might have some fatigue there.
Well, he hasn't been great here recently. He's now 16-5 on the season. Alexander Canario, first player in MLB history to have a grand slam and drive in 5 runs in his first start. That was kind of cool.
No, it was cool. As fans, we was happy about that.
Yeah.
Like, we'll take any production, man. If you're sitting in the stands, and you can hit a pitch, we'll take you, man. Just at this moment right now, we'll take anything we can get.
Sounds like you're saying the Cubs need a spark, something.
Yes, we need. I think we just need. We need some pitching, because I think we've been getting timely hits. The hitting has not been so much of an issue. Pitchers just been getting roughed up, and we need leads because we don't know what our relievers are going to do. They just keep walking people when they get on. So we need some pitching.
Well, everybody kind of needs pitching at this point. Cardinals, my Cardinals, Adam Wainwright finally did it. He got number 200. Cardinals lost 3 of 4 to Milwaukee, but Waino won number 200. He got our last 3 wins came against the Braves, the Orioles, and the Brewers.
Ain't that something?
Pretty impressive. He went 7 scoreless against the Brewers. He's the 3rd pitcher in Cardinals history to reach the mark of 200 wins, joining Bob Gibson and Jesse Haynes. The 5th active pitcher with 200 plus. Clayton Kershaw's got 209, Max Scherzer 214, Zach Greinke 224, and Justin Verlander 255. He also hit 11 home runs in his career. How about that? Of the 10,331 players that have debuted in baseball since 1969, 2,394 have hit 10 or more home runs. Only 36 have won 200 or more games. Only 1 has done both, and that is your Adam Wainwright.
Wow.
Yeah, Waino.
Listen. The name.
Let me tell you something. I don't want to see him again. I don't want to see him again.
He's with those names.
I thought you said he gets a statue.
He's got to have something. Listen.
Oh, he's going to get a statue.
Half of those guys that you named, Fish, are going to the Hall of Fame.
Oh, probably all of them.
The guys that Verlander's, I think Verlander's going to go. I think
Greinke will probably go when it's all said and done.
Yeah, Greinke will probably go.
Scherzer?
Nah, I don't know about Scherzer.
No, he might if he can stay healthy.
I don't know.
If he can get to 250 wins, he'd be a shoo-in.
Yeah.
So is that the new benchmark now? Like
I think so.
250 is that you're in?
Yeah.
I think so. Probably. Yeah, and then Kershaw for sure.
Yeah, Kershaw's getting it. Yeah.
I think in a year where you're really hard pressed to put somebody into the Hall of Fame, you could make a case for Adam Wainwright. I'm not expecting him ever to be in the Hall of Fame, but you could make a case for him. He's got numbers to back it up. He's got World Series titles. He closed a World Series. He started in the World Series and wins. So I think there's an argument to be made for him, but it'd be like the year Harold Baines went in. It'd be like, oh, Adam Wainwright made it. Oh, okay.
That's just like, to me, like, who are the statues outside the Cardinals stadium? Musial. Who else?
All their Hall of Famers.
McGuire.
Gibson,
right?
No, they don't. Well, because McGuire's not in the Hall of Fame. They do it for their
cheated.
Hall of Famers.
Oh, wow.
Musial's got the huge one, but then they have littler ones around the stadium of everybody who's in the Hall of Fame. Gibson, Shane Deans,
So
Dizzy
like,
Dean.
I have a hard time just putting Wainwright in the same class as a Musial. Like Like maybe he gets one of the littler ones, like you said, a little statue.
I mean,
Yeah,
Gibson should have a bigger one, in my
yeah.
opinion. But that's just me.
Wainwright he'll be a Cardinal Hall of Famer for sure. I mean,
Cardinal Hall of Fame. Yeah, I mean,
and that'll be
some of the guys who made the Cardinal Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Jim Edmonds is in the Cardinal Hall of Fame for crying out loud. So, yeah, Wayne will certainly do that. But I think there's an argument to be made for him. I don't know if the argument's strong enough for him to be a Hall of Famer.
It's a tough argument.
Yeah, and he's the one thing he's got going for him though. Like I said, if there's a year where you're hard pressed to put people in, media love him because he's been such a good person with the media, and sometimes that matters. You know that you have a relationship like that. So he's been a guy that's just well liked, and what a career. And I hope he doesn't pitch again. I don't think he's going to pitch again. They're talking. My thing was, I said it last week. I wanted to see him swing the bat again. And I think that's what'll happen. Probably the last game of the season, they'll put him up there in a pinch hitting role.
It's funny though when you're talking about like one of the great players of all time for your organization. You're like, please, we don't want to see him anymore. Please,
no. I don't want to see him get lit up, man. That'd be a terror because he's going out a great way. They did it at home.
Yeah,
he got number 200 at home, so everything was good. But the Cardinals right now are just a mess. It's Contreras is done for the season with wrist tendonitis. Arenado's done for the season with back is bothering him. Pretty much Goldschmidt's the only starter right now that the Cardinals are playing. Everybody else it's the Memphis Redbirds, and they're just they're getting lit up. So it's kind of hard to watch. I haven't seen this from a Cardinals team in a long time where they're just throwing guys out there, and it's pretty miserable to watch right now for sure. A couple of other notes from around Major League Baseball. Philadelphia Phillies, they won 2 of 3 at Atlanta. Then they swept the Mets in 4 to secure their spot. Nick Castellanos has been on fire. He had 5 home runs this week. Bryce Harper hit 3 this week, a couple of them against the Braves. Schwarber hit his 45th. Zach Wheeler improved to 13-6. Yeah.
Oh man, I can't explain it. I don't know. It's just he's just going to keep hitting home runs and batting 190 something. Like,
yeah, it's pretty impressive that what he's doing. The Miami Marlins, they lost 2 of 3 to the Mets, but won 2 of 3 against the Milwaukee. Sandy Alcantara, he will not pitch again this season. Had a UCL sprain. He went down to AAA and left that start with forearm tightness, and then they announced he's done. He's done for the year. So tough news for Miami. I mean, imagine if he was last year's Sandy Alcantara. I mean, Miami'd be in great shape right now.
He was bad like the first couple months of the season, but he was pretty good lately.
Yeah, but still not consistently enough in a row. I mean, he'd have one of his, not Cy Young. Yeah, no. But that's a big loss for them for sure. Milwaukee, meanwhile, they're still in first place by winning series. They've clinched the division as well. Carlos Santana hit his 22nd home run and number 300 of his career. He's a 10th switch hitter to hit 300 home runs. That's it. How about that? Josh Donaldson hit a couple of home runs this week. He's got 13 now on the season. And I found this out this week. Didn't know about this. Craig Counsell, the manager of the Milwaukee Brewers, his contract's up after this season. And there was talk of him just kind of stepping away and taking a year off. There hasn't been talk.
Is it going to Europe or something? Like, what's it?
I don't know. But there hasn't been really any talk of the Brewers re-signing him. And if the Brewers want to re-sign him, the Brewers general manager just left for the New York Mets to be their general manager. So maybe Buck would be out, and maybe Craig Counsell could be the new manager of the New York Mets. Craig Counsell's a good manager, all-time winningest manager in Brewers history.
Yeah, he is.
Well, sort of unremarkable, but sure.
He's done well, right?
I mean, what's the issue here, Fish? Like, why are they slow walking this? Because usually you would lock somebody in when they're having that type of success, and especially for the Brewers. It's the Brewers. It's not like, they're supposed to be winning every game. Like, this guy has them in every game. So I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I can't remember the Brewers without Craig Counsell. He's been there so long. It'd be crazy to see if they moved on, especially with the success they're having as they've wrapped up a position in the playoffs, and they can wrap up the division today. Cincinnati, meanwhile, they lost. They're struggling. Lost 2 or 3 to Minnesota. Then they lost 2 or 3 to Pittsburgh, including a game they led 9-0. They lost. That hurts. TJ Friedel became the second player since 1974 to record 17 homers and 17 bunt hits in the same season. Yeah. Roberto Alomar did it back in 1999. How about that? You all familiar with Mike DeCourcy, right?
Yeah.
Yes. College basketball writer.
Yep.
He's a college basketball writer. He tweeted out this week that since the Cincinnati Reds needlessly extended the contract of manager David Bell, the team is 24-29, falling from a game and a half out of first to 8.5 games out. With teams that contended in 2021 and 23, his August and September record stands at 49-57. Wow. That's underwhelming.
Yes, it is.
Is it his fault?
I mean, you can blame the manager for that. If your team is collapsing late, that's a managerial thing.
All right.
Like that's like you don't have your team's focus at the end.
Do you blame David Ross for the Cubs last 2 weeks?
Oh, you know he does.
Listen, he's been better than what I thought he was going to be. I'm going to lay off the man. He's only thing I hate is when he starts trying to be too smart, tinkering with the lineups and doing weird things, like that we hate. But he's been kind of hands off lately. He's let them play, so I have no beef with the man. Yeah. Unless we don't make it. If we don't make it, then
it's his fault.
It's definitely his fault.
I don't blame Ollie Marmol for the last few weeks of the Cardinals. I think I could manage the team and it'd be just as fine. I mean they're terrible. I mean,
Casey Stengel could be out there and you guys would be taking L. So I don't know.
Absolutely.
I don't know if it's Morrow's fault.
No, not now. I asked, by the way, I was in St. Louis over the weekend and my niece, she got a new puppy and the puppy's name is Ollie.
Nice.
And I was like, is it after Ollie Marmol? And she said, no. And I was like, oh, okay. All right. I didn't want to have to be mad at the dog. Los Angeles or my niece. Yeah. Los Angeles Dodgers, a good week again. They won series against Detroit and San Francisco. JD Martinez with a 5 home run week. JD Martinez has 31 bombs this season. And Max Muncy hit his 36. Freddie Freeman, the first player to reach 50 doubles and 20 steals in a season since Brian Roberts did it in 2019. Only the 19th time it's happened in history and the first by a first baseman. He's also the first ever 2020 season by a Dodger first baseman. 20 steals, 26 homers, and he's the first baseman with 200 hits, 20 homers, and 20 stolen bases. Good for Freddie.
I'll take the younger, cheaper Matt Olson.
Younger, cheaper, bomb-hitting Matt Olson. Man. Blake Snell, who might win the Cy Young Award, even though Spencer Strider could win 20 games and have more strikeouts than anybody in history. It might give it to Blake Snell because he's got a 1.26 ERA now in his last 22 starts. The only pitcher with an ERA that low in a single season 22 start span was Jake Arrieta in 2015. That run that Jake Arrieta had was one of the most remarkable pitching performances you'll ever see.
Yeah, but it was fool's gold though. We found that out.
Short-lived.
Sure did. San Diego's won 9 of 10. If only we had another few weeks left in the season. Maybe
that's the most disappointing team, Fish.
Oh, no question.
That's the most just keep the Cubs out your mouth. Keep people are like trying to get at the Cardinals. Don't say nothing about the Cardinals. They just had a bad pitching staff. It's San Diego all the way. Like there's no discussion about that.
Padres are 5 out with 6 to go, so there is a chance. So there is a chance if they can. Arizona swept 2 against the Giants. I told you the Giants were going to get knocked out this week, and they pretty much have. They are done. They are 5 games. 6 games now, 5 games out. They're tied with the Padres now. That's how quick they dropped this week. Arizona swept them. Zach Gallen improved to 16-8. They split 2 games with the Yankees. Christian Walker at his 31st home run. Zach Gallen's now 17-8 on the season. Corbin Carroll, rookie for the Diamondbacks, hit his 25th homer and got his 50th stolen base, the first rookie to ever do that. The 9th player in history with 25 and 50 in a season. He's the third Diamondbacks player to steal 50, joining Tony Womack and Eric Burns. Also the second player in history with more than 25 homers and 50 stolen bases in a season at an age 22 or younger, joining Cesar Cedeno, who had 25 and 56 back in 1973. Corbin Carroll, your National League Rookie of the Year. He was had a fantastic year.
Yeah, by far.
In the American League, the Toronto Blue Jays, they won 2 of 3 at the Yankees and 2 of 3 at Tampa. They've won 7 of their last 9. They're playing well, and they have a good schedule with games at home this week. Toronto in that wild card race, they are the second team, but they got a 2-game lead. The two teams that are really fighting it out are Houston and Seattle. They start a series tonight. Baltimore won 2 of 3 at Houston, split 4 with Cleveland. Anthony Santander hit his 40th and 41st double of this season. That's pretty. I mean, we talk about Freddie just being obnoxious.
Yeah.
50. That's pretty good. 40 for Santander. American League Central. Interesting note from Cleveland this week. Jose Ramirez hit his 200th home run. Active players with 200 home runs and 200 stolen bases: Mike Trout, Andrew McCutchen, Jose Altuve, and Jose Ramirez.
It's a good list.
Ronald Acuna's got to be really close.
Yeah.
Right?
It's got to be.
I would think.
I mean, he almost got the stolen bases this year.
Right. Minnesota, they clinched their division title, third time in 5 years under Rocco Baldelli. However, the Twins have lost 18 straight postseason games. 13 of those coming to the New York Yankees. Yeah.
That's horrible, man.
Yeah, they haven't won a
playoff.
playoff.
What was that last line you said with the Yankees?
They lost 13 of those to the Yankees.
Jeez.
In the playoffs. So lucky for them, the Yankees aren't in the playoffs this year. So that's good news. Although Carlos Correa has a little plantar fasciitis, so he might be hampered a little bit.
So do I.
The Mets almost blew that deal too.
Yeah.
Wow.
I wish they had.
Detroit Tigers haven't had a guy hit 30 home runs since 2016. And how many do the Braves have this year? 6?
6, yeah.
Spencer Torkelson's got 29, so he's trying to get to 30 for the Tigers, be the first since 2016. Miguel Cabrera hit his 3,167th hit, moves into 16th place. He passed Adrian Beltre, and he also tied Hank Aaron in 13th for most doubles. So that's good. American League West, Houston, terrible week. Lost 2 of 3 to Baltimore, and then they were swept 3 games by the Royals. And Framber Valdez fell to 12 and 11. This is a guy who had a no-hitter this year. This is a guy who is considered their ace. He's a guy that everyone, when you talk about the Astros and you talk about the postseason, you think about Verlander and Valdez and how you're going to beat those first 2. Valdez is 12 and 11 on the season. I've said it over and over. He's the best 500 pitcher in baseball because that's he and Snell. Although Snell at least is a little over 500 now because he's pitched so well. But Valdez just has been so inconsistent all season long. I think this whole thing of Houston's been there before, it's starting to fade away on me because I think they've just played too inconsistent. They're under 500 at home. Under 500, and they're winning their division.
Yeah.
But they're under 500 at home. It's just weird. They're weird, and I don't trust Verlander right now either.
I don't either.
I don't know.
Maybe they don't have the trash cans.
Well, that might be pretty apparent. Yeah. Seattle swept 3 at Oakland. Brian Wu went a scoreless 4 innings to improve to 4-4. Luis Castillo now 14-7 on the season. Texas won 2 of 3 against Boston. They won their 11th game of the season by 10 or more runs, the most in a season in franchise history. And it's also the 6th time they scored 15 runs in a game, the most in a season in franchise history as well. Julio this week. Julio and Bobby Witt Jr. of the Royals are the only players in history with 120 extra base hits and 60 stolen bases in their first 2 seasons. So congratulations to J-Rod, and he's got to be great this week. All right, one more time, the schedule for this week. It's big everywhere for the wild card in the National League, especially the Chicago Cubs trying to hold on to that final wild card spot, have 3 in Atlanta, 3 at Milwaukee. So 3 at Atlanta, 3 at Milwaukee for the Cubs. The Marlins are 1 game back of the Cubs, currently on the outside looking in. The Marlins have 3 at the Mets and 3 at the Pirates.
The baseball gods hate us.
Diamondbacks, who are a half game ahead of the Cubs, they got 1 at the Yankees, 3 at the White Sox, and then 3 at home to the Houston Astros. All right.
Do you think Dansby gets an ovation?
Yeah,
in Atlanta, I think so.
He should. He deserves.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So.
The Braves this week, they got the Cubs for 3 and then Washington for 3 to round out the season. Cardinals, they're in Milwaukee for 3, and then they got Cincinnati for 3. Or the Redbirds are playing Milwaukee for 3 and Cincinnati for 3. Luken Baker hit a home run last night, Lang. Yeah.
I heard about that. I remember him.
Yeah, Luken Baker.
We saw him play.
Formerly of the Redbirds. We did. The Rays are 2.5 back of the Orioles. The Orioles trying to wrap up the division. They'll have Washington for 2 and Boston for 4. Tampa's at Boston for 2 and then at Toronto for 3. Toronto they're in pretty good shape. 2-game lead over the Astros. They have the Yankees for 3 and Tampa for 3. And then it's the Astros in Seattle, just a half game separating those two. Houston is in Seattle for 3 games starting tonight, and then they're at Arizona. Seattle, after the Houston series, they will have Texas for 4. So shaping up to be a big week, an exciting week of Major League Baseball. Murph, man, fingers crossed for you, Murph. I don't want to see sad Murph next Monday.
Lang, please tell your boys to give us 2. Because if you give us 2, I think we'll be good for the other series. I think I like our chances more. We need 2.
All right.
From the Braves. Just need 2. Rest some guys. Rest Strider. I don't know. Strider,
I don't think he wouldn't pitch anyway.
So he's not pitching this series.
He pitched last night. So
yeah. He's gonna
pitch underhand to Dansby. Be nice to him.
Yeah, plunk a couple of our players, get us on base. Do something because we need it, man. I mean, I don't even. Listen, I saw that schedule, Fish. The last 6 games, I was like, man, come on, man, you got to be kidding me.
Why couldn't we play the Cardinals?
Right. And then I see the schedule for the teams behind us. Like, come on, man. Like, that's just terrible, man. That's just wrong. But we got to go. We got to do it. So go Cubs.
Go Cubs, go. Go Cubs, go. Hey, I want to remind everyone too that you can get your Grizzlies season tickets. Camp starts next week.
That's right.
That's right. You can get your Grizzlies season tickets are on sale now. Tickets are the best way to guarantee your seats to the biggest matchups at the lowest prices all season long. For more information, visit grizzlies.com/season tickets or call 901-888-HOOP today. And a lot of Grizzlies coverage here on Grind City Media, of course, all day next Monday for Media Day. So make sure you check that out. Lang and I will be a part of that after we talk a little baseball too. All right, so that's going to do it, man. Next week on the show, we're talking playoffs. We're talking matchups. Playoffs. We got matchups. We got we got picks. We can make picks for the playoffs. I'm excited about it. It'll be a lot of fun. And hopefully we're talking Cubs. Or it might just be, if we're not, it might just be Lang and I next week. I'm not sure.
No, listen, as usual, I will come on even my Cubs are not in. That's in the contract. It's in the infield fly contract.
I think so.
Comes in when his Cubs doesn't make the playoffs. So
I think so.
I'll be there, man.
All right. Well, hopefully the Cubs will be in, and we can talk about that for you next week. All right, everybody, enjoy your week of baseball as the final week of the regular season. We'll talk postseason with you next week. Until then, for Murph, for Lang, I'm Fish. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you next week here on Infield Fly on Grind City Media.